Democrats who, despite pressure and despite calls for their arrests, left Texas to stop Republicans from passing a map that blatantly keeps Republicans and Trump in power. A deliberate attempt led by Republicans to silence voters and appease Donald Trump. But what the GOP didn't count on was a public ready to fight back against their power grab. A deliberate attempt led by Republicans to silence voters and appease Donald Trump. But what the GOP didn't count on was a public ready to fight back against their power grab. Or legislators will put themselves on the line for their constituents. As chair of the Democratic Party of Illinois, I must say I am proud to welcome Texas House Democrats to our state. With that, I want to pass it over to one of the most extraordinary people that I have encountered and met, our Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton.
Thank you so much, Chair Hernandez, and good morning, everyone. I'm Juliana Stratton. I'm proud to serve as Lieutenant Governor of Illinois, and I'm honored to be running for the United States Senate. To my friends from Texas, well, I'm glad to welcome you all to the great state of Illinois. I wish we were coming together under different circumstances. We're here today not because we want to be, but because we have to be. Right now, we are facing the voting rights fight of our lifetime. Donald Trump and Texas Republicans are staging a blatant attempt to strip away voting rights and rig the next election. Texas families are still recovering from devastating floods. Americans nationwide are suffering under rising prices and cuts to health care and food assistance. But Trump and Texas Republicans are choosing to ignore the needs of their constituents and focusing on further rigging the system for their own advantage. And there's no line they won't cross. Governor Abbott has even called for duly elected representatives to be hunted down and arrested. That is authoritarianism, and all of us should be outraged. It's not lost on me that it's Black and Latino communities who will disproportionately be silenced by this attack. Tomorrow marks the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, which was specifically designed to prohibit racial discrimination in voting. That progress was only possible because people were brave enough to fight for it. People like my dad, Henry, a Navy veteran, who marched from Selma to Montgomery 60 years ago because voting rights were under attack. But here we are in 2025. Trump and Republicans will stop at nothing to roll back that progress. This is personal to me because my 92-year-old dad, Henry, has passed the baton to me and to all of us. And now is our time to stand up and fight.
I don't know who in the hell y'all think y'all are. We're some sweet people, but we can turn just as evil and devilish as y'all are, you goddamn sorry motherfuckers. We hate y'all. We tired of y'all's goddamn shit. You better get your goddamn asses in order. I got power with the Most High God. Yeah, you got power with the devil, I know it. We're gonna have to fight this goddamn motherfucker out, but I already know who's gonna win, you sorry bitches.
We have a message for President Trump and Governor Abbott. We are watching you. In Illinois, we don't sit on the sidelines. In Illinois, we don't take kindly to threats. And in Illinois, we fight back. If Trump and Texas Republicans won't play by the rules, we will look at every option available to stop their extreme power grab, and nothing will be off the table.
That's right.
Friends, I assure you that while you're here in Illinois, we will do everything in our power to support you and protect you, because this isn't just about Texas. It's not just about Illinois. It's about every American having the right to be heard. Now is the time for fighters to be bold, unflinching, and fearless as we stand up for our democracy. And that's what we'll continue doing in Illinois. And we're proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with our friends in Texas in this fight. And with that, it is now my honor to pass it over to a true champion for democracy, who also happens to be the best governor in the nation, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I really am so pleased to welcome DNC Chair Ken Martin, along with Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher and Congressman Al Green, all, of course, from the state of Texas. And we're here, of course, because Texas House Democrats are demonstrating what it means to fight for the preservation of our constitutional republic. Donald Trump, Governor Abbott, Texas Republicans, well, they know that they're headed toward a loss of the Congress in 2026. They're afraid, and they should be. Because when you try to tear health care away from veterans and seniors, from children and people with disabilities, when you raise tariff taxes on groceries and beer and automobiles, when you let poor and working class families go hungry, when you allow smokestack industries to pollute the air and remove safety standards from food producers, well, all so that you can give a massive tax break to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Ackman, well, frankly, you'd better watch out. You're going to lose your elections. So they've decided that the only way to save themselves is to cheat, to change the rules in the middle of the game. And what do MAGA Republicans in Texas do when Donald Trump ignores, well, his oath of office and theirs, and when they're taking it upon themselves to thwart the will of the American people? Well, they say, when Donald Trump calls, they say, "Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Happy to lick your boot, sir." When Donald Trump says jump, Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton say, "How high?" They don't care that they're violating the Voting Rights Act and racially gerrymandering their state. Well, they're hoping they can rob the bank and get away before anyone notices. Texas Republicans are trying to diminish the voting power of their own constituents, and in doing so, diminish the rights of Illinoisans and all Americans. Texas House Democrats are putting their lives on hold and their livelihoods at risk because they don't want to live in a country where the president rigs elections for his side. That's not democracy. That's not America. To be in public office right now is to constantly ask yourself, how do I make sure that we're standing on the right side of history? Well, there's a simple answer. The wrong side of history will always tell you to be afraid. And the right side of history will always expect you to be courageous. Texas House Democrats are leading the way in choosing courage and country over politics and party. That's what it means to fight for what's right. And I love this country too. And I love it so much that I'm going to fight for it too, right alongside my heroes, the Texas House Democrats. So the state of Illinois is proud to stand side by side with these brave Texas Democrats, heroes in the battle to save our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce the leader of the National Democratic Party, the great Ken Martin. Ken?
I want to thank Governor Pritzker, of course, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, and Chairwoman Hernandez. Most importantly, I want to thank the patriots behind me. You know, patriotism means standing up for our Constitution in this time when it's under assault from people throughout this country, including our President of the United States. Let me tell you something, though. You heard it from the governor. Democrats are fighting back. We're not rolling over. And I've been saying to these Texas Republicans, if you want a showdown, Well, you're going to get a showdown. And here it is right now here in Illinois. Unlike Texas Republicans who held just one hearing on flood response, but 8 hearings on rigging maps, Texas Democrats are doing their damn jobs. They're standing up for the Constitution. They're standing up for the democracy. They're standing up for the voices of their constituents. There is nothing more American than calling out corruption, blasting bullies who seek to harm others, and defending democracy and the will of the voters. We are here on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act to once again stand up for fairness and justice. Because just as the icons of the civil rights movement marched, protested, and got into good trouble, just as Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and John Lewis fought to ensure that Americans could access the ballot regardless of the color of their skin, so too are these courageous Texas House Democrats standing up and fighting back against a racial gerrymandering scheme to disenfranchise Black and Latino voters, all to desperately hold on to Congress in the midterms. I am here because the DNC is standing shoulder to shoulder with them every single step of the way. And let me tell you something. We are supporting them not because it's a political fight, although it is, not because it's a necessary fight, although it is. We are supporting them because this is a moral fight. A fight worth fighting with every tool at our disposal. A fight for the fundamental value that voters should get to choose their leaders, not the other way around. Now, our message today is simple. It didn't have to be this way. It did not.
It did not have to be this way. But you put the fight, and goddamn it, we're going to give you one.
Individuals and families affected by the devastating floods in Kerr County. He did. He could have said no to Donald Trump and refused to redraw the electoral map in Texas. He didn't. It's clear that Republicans would rather play politics with our elections than support flood victims. They'd rather cheat than try to campaign on their failing record, a failing record which, by the way, includes voting for Trump's budget bill, which rips away health care for up to 1.7 million Texans. Republicans are running scared that voting for this monstrosity will make them lose their majority, and it certainly will. Which is why they're trying to disenfranchise Texas voters by packing and cracking them into districts to dilute their voting power, a clear and blatant violation of the Voting Rights Act. Now, I want to be very clear about this. The Trump-Abbott gerrymander is a test case for the rest of the country. What Republicans are trying to do in Texas is a model for other red states to lie, cheat, and steal their way to victory. They don't give a damn about the will of voters or their needs. In fact, they'd rather bend the knee to Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. than advocate for Texas. It's insulting, it's shameful, and it's wrong. And as I've said, Democrats are going to fight this tooth and nail, and until the will of the voters is respected. This is not the Democratic Party of your grandfather, which would bring a pencil to the knife fight. This is a new Democratic Party. We're bringing a knife to a knife fight, and we are going to fight fire with fire. We will not let Republicans succeed in their efforts to gerrymander the map and tilt the election in their favor. I want to thank all of those who are here in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the Texas House Democratic Caucus who have broken quorum to prevent this illegal Republican gerrymander from going through. And with that, it is my great honor to introduce one of those brave patriots, true patriot, State Representative Ramon Romero from Fort Worth.
Thank you, Chair Martin. My name is Ramon Romero Jr., State Representative, District 90 in Fort Worth, Texas, and also Chairman of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, the oldest and largest Latino caucus in the United States of America. So right now, there's folks saying that we walked out. And I think everyone behind me will say, we're standing up, and as Texans would say, we're standing tall. There's others that are saying and warning us that they're going to arrest us or make us pay fines. I'll pay that price for America. And I think everyone behind me would say they would do the same. That would be a very small price to pay for what we would save for these Americans that have fought so hard and against the maps that aim directly at Black and brown voices. Tomorrow marks 60 years since the Voting Rights Act was signed into law, and that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. And now here we are 1 day before that anniversary, watching Trump try to destroy it. That would be a very small price to pay for what we would save for these Americans that have fought so hard and against the maps that aim directly at black and brown voices. And against the maps that aim directly at black and brown voices. Directly at black and brown voices. And against the maps that aim directly at black and brown voices. Tomorrow marks 60 years since the Voting Rights Act was signed into law, and that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. And against the maps that aim directly at black and brown voices. Tomorrow marks 60 years since the Voting Rights Act was signed into law, and that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. Americans that have fought so hard, and against the maps that aim directly at black and brown voices. Tomorrow marks 60 years since the Voting Rights Act was signed into law, and that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. And now here we are 1 day before that anniversary, watching Trump try to destroy it. And that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. And now here we are 1 day before that anniversary, watching Trump try to destroy it. And that law that was born out of sacrifice of people bleeding, marching, and even dying for the right to vote. And now here we are 1 day before that anniversary, watching Trump try to destroy it.
What do the white people owe the black people? It makes it even more important that everybody know that you need to stick up for yourself so that nobody ever does that ever again, because it was wrong back then, and if somebody's doing it now, it's wrong now, but at least we have a law that keeps people from doing that. Well, now, I've got a question. This is not a facetious question. This is a real, true question. What do the white people owe the black people? I think that's a stupid question. You know, nobody owes anybody anything. You know, well, I just wanted to say it. You know, but see, I don't know where that question comes from, because that's not what I'm talking about. If that's what you're talking about, then we ain't having the same conversation. I'm telling you what is a fact. We're not talking about owing anybody anything. But you must understand how badly some people were treated, and that affects their life today, even though the laws have changed. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about owing anybody anything. Nobody owes anybody anything. We owe everybody the respect that we want. If you want respect, you need to give respect to other people. Well, when coming up my day, you didn't automatically get respect. And it's different nowadays. No, I think you earn respect now. I think that there are some people that want respect that don't want to earn it. Well, you know, in all my life, I have been living 75 years, and all my life there have been people who wanted respect that didn't earn it. And so there's nothing new under the sun about that. There are people today that want respect that haven't earned it, and there were people when I was 15 years old that wanted respect, and they haven't earned it. I agree with you, you earn respect, but it's the same today as it was back then. Well, these people that, you know, every conversation, and you got a couple on this program, and they play the race card just as much as they can, as many times as they can, and they use that as an excuse and a crutch for why some people do what they do.
For if even Oprah, the most powerful woman in American media, chose the UPN executives, Those who profited from Malcolm then cast him aside. In the mid-1990s, when Malcolm was still struggling to find his footing after The Cosby Show, UPN offered him a major opportunity, the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie. It was a turning point that both he and his family believed would provide lasting financial and artistic stability. A sitcom that reached 100 episodes meant a syndication deal worth millions of dollars, ensuring a lifetime of steady income. The UPN executives, when signing him, made little effort to hide their expectations. Malcolm would be the safe face, a grown-up child star, easy to manage, and grateful for the chance to return. But what they got was a different Malcolm. On set, he insisted on scripts that authentically reflected Black life, fought to keep Karen Molina White his co-star, then threatened with replacement by a white actress, and demanded more Black cameramen and writers in the team. To the UPN executives, this was difficult, a direct challenge to their authority on the stage they believed they controlled. They compared Malcolm with Eddie Griffin, chaotic, unpredictable, but easier to indulge, and realized they preferred the latter. The result, Malcolm and Eddie, was cut off at 88 episodes, just 12 shy of the syndication mark, costing Malcolm millions of dollars. The wound was not only financial, it was the sense of being used executives who once shook his hand with smiles, who had called him the golden face of their new network, now turned their backs simply because he refused to stay silent. When the Cosby scandal erupted, they swiftly pulled The Cosby Show from reruns, which meant Malcolm lost millions more in royalties he had counted on for old age. For his family looking back, it became clear that these very executives had determined his future not with fairness, but with profit sheets. From a broader view, the executives' actions followed the logic of the industry. They wanted consumable products, manageable artists, and anyone who didn't fit was replaced. But for Malcolm, it only confirmed his belief that Hollywood was built on exploitation, where a Black artist could be celebrated one day and erased the next.